Hey guys, it's me, Shane, and I'm here to give you something new. And this will be around until March, I believe March the 5th to be exact. I'm so excited to be doing this. I'm going to talk to you about the first two episodes of WandaVision. A quick note, I've been trying to work on this glare on my glasses. I hope you can see me and see me emote very well. Sorry about that, but yeah, I'm excited. I was able to watch a couple hours ago. Had to, of course, do adult things, take care of some stuff. Now I'm able to sit down and give you this review. I wish I could stay up late to do these and get them out, but I'd rather be fresh and attentive and pay attention. As like I do with The Mandalorian, I do not take paper notes like I do with my anime reviews. Uh, I tend to know those a little bit more when things are more live action, more movie based. Even with anime movies, I don't take notes like that. So when it's more movie based, I will not take notes. I do, however, put things in a phone and I kind of I just text it to myself and just keep it there. So I have tiny notes, but I don't have full blown notes. Uh, this will be spoilery. It gets into spoiler territory. Both episodes, one was 30 minutes, the other one was, I believe, 33 or 27. I am not going to give you a full 30 to 40 to 60-minute play by play about what happened. I'm just going to run down a little bit and give you my theories. The first episode, first of all, I felt so much nostalgia watching these because these are based, if you've seen all the adverts, you've seen the pictures, they're based on the 50s, 60s, and soon to be 70s, 80s, and 90s sitcoms. The 50s one, did a little bit of research. Actually, got my handy dandy laptop right here. And one of the things that Olsen, Elizabeth Olsen, was doing, she was studying some of the old actresses like Lucille Ball. The first episode is just straight up out of I Love Lucy and the Honeymooners. It's Vision and Wanda. They show up. Had to move my gum. They show up to this neighborhood, and I believe the neighborhood. Pardon me, I cannot remember this neighborhood to save my life. The neighborhood's called Westview. They move to this neighborhood. They're in this old timey car. The whole joke is he has to pretend that he's human, and she has to pretend she doesn't have powers. So she's doing dishes, and dishes hit his head. But remember, he doesn't have bones. He doesn't have skeleton. He doesn't have to eat. He mentions these things, and they mention in a very comical, I Love Lucy way, honeymooners way. It's wonderful. They even have the little subplot of there's a heart on the calendar. She doesn't remember the anniversary. He doesn't remember the anniversary. Of course, he's the guy, so of course it's your fault. But the antics they get into, it's wonderful. I remember watching these shows at my grandfather's house, watching it with him. As a kid, you wake up early. Mom had to drop me off, and she had to go to work, or I would do some of my. It was a small point in time where I had to do some homework there. I do homework after watching these things. Just it reminds me of that so much. And actually, the gentleman who played Vision's boss, I cannot. I can't. His name was Fred Milmed, and he's from a bunch of different things. He's from different movies. You'll recognize as soon as you see him. But his wife is Deborah Jo Roop. That's it. That's the mom from that '70s show. Instantly recognized her. Actually, looks almost the same, if not younger. But I digress. Uh, we go into some antics. She's trying to cook a meal so he doesn't get in trouble. At the same time, they have a nosy neighbor, and the nosy neighbor was played by Catherine Hahn. She's hilarious. I love Catherine Hahn. Uh, and one of the things that happened in this episode is right when they're having dinner, you have to pay attention. They ask, when did you get married? How long have you been married? Where'd you come from? What's your story? And anytime Wanda or Vision ponders that, Vision has openly been saying, I'm trying to understand what's going on here. Because the place he works at, he's doing computations. He's a robot. Remember, well, he's half robot. He's a cyborg entity. He's moving fast and able to do everything. But he's like, what are we doing paperwork for? Well, we're doing it for the computations, for the files. The files for what though? What do we do? And it's kind of like that joke. Like what does Tommy and Martin? What does Tommy Strong do? Tommy, what is your job? But he's actually wondering. And whenever Wanda, in the very beginning, when she was trying to understand what was going on, why don't you guys have wedding rings if you're married? She pauses. Where'd you come from? She pauses. And when Mr. Hart keeps pressing it, he starts to choke. And his wife, she's like, "Oh, stop kidding around. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it." She keeps repeating this. And even though she has this look of joy, it becomes pretty much a horror scene. They wanted the show to be horror based, but I think it's PG-13, or maybe even PG. And she has this look like she's pleading with Wanda to do something. Like this guy's choking on the floor, dying, and even Vision's kind of looking at her like, "What do we do?" She says, "Vision, save him." He still has his powers. He can phase through things. He phases through, grab whatever's choking him after he's asking these questions, and all of a sudden, man, that was great. All right, we're gonna get going now. And then they just, they trade some of the insider jokes that come inside the episode with Wanda coming from Sarkovia, making, saying, she's European, so they had to make up excuses for some of the things they messed up on. What is interesting to note, going into the ending of this episode, it looks like Vision clicks off a remote as him and Wanda just kind of, her head's on his shoulder, he's tilted, and it looks like someone's actually watching this show. It even comes with credits. I tried to find a couple of names of the credits. I tried to find them and see if they were Marvel names. I didn't get any good results for that, but I digress. Someone's watching, and there's a mug and a couple other things that have a sword symbol. Follow me, because I won't forget that. Follow me. We're going into the second episode. In the second episode, well, the whole set has changed, and the intro's changed. The intro and the for first episode was very 50s. This is 70s, for sure 70s. It has the nice 70s cut. Also, these episodes are in black and white. First one was in black and white, doesn't feel off, but the it was in black and white. Second episode is in black and white, and the very beginning we get some knocking. They're typical as 60s. They're in separate beds. She's using her powers to click on the lights, and they're trying to find where's this knocking. There's someone trying to break in. We get a cute little joke about who's going to go investigate it. And when she opens up the windows, what appears that's just the branch hitting. Um, Vision, they're going to do a little magic act later on for the whole neighborhood, and in between doing this, practicing this magic act, even though they can literally she can warp reality and control things, and he can just phase in and out. They're just going to do it the practical way. He's going to go to the neighborhood watch to make sure everything's up to code, and she's going to this wives neighborhood thing, a typical thing from the 60s and 70s where there's like a pecking order, some woman at the top who's delving out orders and things of that nature. And Agnes is still Agnes. Mind you, we have done a complete decade shift. Everything looks like the 70s. If you've done research into the 70s, even though the show's in black and white, you can tell the set, the clothes. She's wearing a pantsuit. Their intro was like Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. That's the animated intro was very well done. One of the things I have to note is that even though this is supposed to emulate the 60s and the 50s and 60s shows, the quality of the picture is so good. It doesn't have that graininess like the other shows did. So it's like I know you're emulating it and you're giving me some nostalgia, but man, show looks really good, especially with the effects. The effects don't look like the weird shaky ones from I Dream of Jeannie. There's just Marvel Disney effects. I digress. They both go off their separate ways, and Vision, dude doesn't need to eat, so they do the joke of him being a robot with gears. He accidentally swallows gum while trying to get these guys to pay attention to the safety, and we get our first black female character. I'm gonna spoil who these people are, guys. I'm letting you know, spoilers. It's Monica Rambeau. We knew if you pay attention to the pressers or releasers and things like I do, Monica Rambeau is going to be here. Kat Dennings is reprising her character from Thor. Is his name Johnny Cho? I don't. Sorry, Randall Park is Jimmy Woo. Mixing up names. I apologize. They're reprising their characters. Remember Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and Wasp, the guy who was in charge of watching, and Jimmy Woo was Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the comics. So I digress. We're getting people who are supposed to be from here. But her name is not Monica. Her name is Geraldine. And you get this weird moment where Wanda asks, "What's your name?" And she kind of pauses and jumps on like Geraldine, as if the name had to be downloaded to her. I'm not done. So they end up hitting it off. And if you're asking yourself, well, Shane, who the hell is Monica Rambeau? Monica Rambeau was a little girl in Captain Marvel. Monica Rambeau in the comics is Carol Danvers, one of her best friends, and actually she becomes Captain Marvel for a long time. And then she goes by the name, I believe, Pulsar. I don't remember the current name she goes by right now, but Monica Rambeau, one of the best black characters, best female black characters we've ever had. Period. Uh, so yeah. And by the way, since that show took place in the '90s, I believe Monica Rambeau was born in the Marvel universe. She was born in like 1988, 1987, like me. So she's 32, 33. I digress. Around the same age Wanda should be, but I digress. They hit it off. They become friends. Agnes is still her friend, telling her what's what. We get to this moment before she gets there where there's still this knocking, and she finds this red helicopter. Me saying red should mean something to you because everything's black and white but this helicopter that has that sword symbol. When they get to the wives' dinner thing, the woman who is in charge of all of it, Dottie, she has to cut. She's asking, "Who are you? Who am I?" The radio has so much fuzz, and there's someone saying, "Wanda, do you know who's doing this to you, Wanda?" And then it's cutting in and out between '60s music and someone calling her, and the woman Dottie breaks the glass and blood, and her blood is red. Now all of a sudden she snaps out of it. We go back on with the episode. Another thing I didn't mention about the first episode, we do get the timely music of yakety yak, don't talk back, yakety yak, yakety yak, and they tried to emulate some of that music. I can't remember the song, the '60s song they played in episode 2, but I digress. Vision's showing off his powers. Wanda's playing it off to make it seem like, oh, it's just magic. Here's all our tricks. She even used her reality warping powers to turn a guy's piano into a flat board. Great stuff, good stuff. And they hit it, and they did well. They hit it off with everybody. Everybody loves them. They're back at their place. And early on, they were talking about kids in the first episode, and they're talking about kids in this one, where, she can help you get into the Dottie has a yay and nay and say of your kids getting into a good school. Well, now that Wanda's gotten up, Wanda's now pregnant, and like predominantly pregnant. If I was to take a guess, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 months pregnant. She's out there, and they hear this knocking again. And Vision's like, if it's that damn tree, I'm cutting it down. Mind you, you're probably wondering how does Vision get around looking like Vision, because he does look like himself. He uses this, I guess, ability he has to make his face look like Paul Bettany, the person who plays Vision, who also played Jarvis. I digress. They go outside, and they're looking around, and they see, and he's like, Wanda, what's going, he's calling her and holding on to her shoulders as the sewer grate moves, and out of the sewer grate is a beekeeper. I am not kidding, folks. A beekeeper with bees all around him. And the patch on his shoulder is the same symbol that we saw on the helicopter and on that person's mug who was taking the notes on with all of that that television looking into the WandaVision show. And that's even in the show WandaVision, that's what the show is called. The show is called WandaVision. And the guy turns around, he looks at them, he locks eyes with Wanda, and Wanda says no. They instantly rewind all the way back to the point where they kissed before they went outside. And they don't go outside, and the noise doesn't happen. At that very moment, color erupts, just washes over the whole room and the whole scene. They are now in the '70s because they have this Technicolor pop to them. Vision has his natural burgundy purplish skin. Wanda, you see her natural pale white person skin, whatever. You see her skin tone. You see all the colors that is ruminating on their clothing. And then that's where our episode leads us. And when we get into the credits, we hear, Wanda, do you know who's doing this to you? Wanda. Oh, boy. I'm glad I was able to do that in under 20 minutes and tell you what was going on without telling you what was going on. So, I hope no one's complaining about knowing who the villains are, because in most of the Netflix Marvel shows, you didn't know who the damn villain was until maybe episode 3, 4, or 5. One of the things that Elizabeth Olsen said she was excited about for this show was that They're going to dig into Wanda's mental illness. They're going to dig into who she is. And when Feige showed her specific comics, and I have an idea what specific comics he showed, she was all in for it. Guys, if this show isn't House of M, wow. What is House of M, Shane? Well, House of M is where Wanda snapped, changed all of reality. Now humans are the minority and mutants are the majority. And there's still mutants who are trying to help humans. You know, the people who were good are still good. And the Maximals are these high council. They're in charge. And soon, once they break that, well, we have another moment where Wanda says no more mutants, and we stuck with 199 mutants, which caused so much death and destruction. Like people were using their powers mid her doing that reality snap. And actually, during House of, I believe it was the House of M, Wanda and Vision have children. They have Speed and Wiccan. Wiccan is one of the few few gay characters that you see in Marvel, like openly gay. His boyfriend was Hulkling, which I enjoy Wiccan as a character with his power set, which is basically his mother's, and Speed is Quicksilver. But the main issue is that with those characters that they made too much about their relationship and not who they are as characters. So when Marvel gets to Young Avengers and you get to Speed and Wiccan, don't make Wiccan's big deal is that he's just gay. Make Wiccan an actual character. Being gay is who he is, but is not his personality, if that makes sense. I digress. When House of M ended, those kids went out of existence until they were reincarnated and born. You know, they were born another way, and that psychic connection through reality still resonated through. Wanda and Vision still knew who their kids were, and their kids, the twins, still knew who their parents were, and they met up. They become real. So I believe that is part of what this is. Now, who is the villain? I believe the villain could be Wanda herself. She has an ability over this universe and to able to just warp everything through and just rewind time, but she doesn't. I don't think she understands that she did this. I believe that they are in a place called Westview, and she might have had a mental psychic breakdown, and she has engulfed this whole area because spoiler, spoiler. I believe two of our other famous characters are coming in to investigate this. I believe something I read, but I believe. Um, it will be very interesting to see if that's the case. Another thing is, I believe fully that if that's not her, could be Mr. Sinister. That's just a name I'm throwing out there, but it could be the High Evolutionary. High Evolutionary in the comics is the reason why Peter and Wanda believe that Magneto's not their father. Of course, they did that in the comics because they don't own the rights to the word mutants until they bought Fox. So they did some messed up stuff in the comics that they have already recanted because they own Fox and mutants and such and such and such and such. I digress. Could be Higher Evolutionary tampering with her. I thought it was Sword at first, but when you hear someone saying who is doing this to you, I believe Nick Fury is helping her. Or if it is not Nick Fury and the Agents of Sword, could be the secret invasion with the Skrulls trying to study her powers and get her powers for their own good to be able to change things and get their homeworld back. Never know. And another villain I believe it could be is Nightmare. Nightmare is the dark side of Sentry. Sentry is a literally a mentally ill superhero who's basically Superman. He is the only person that can go toe to toe with the Hulk, and they went to a standstill during the World War Hulk series where they're so strong they're just beating the energy out of each other. Hulk turns back into Banner. Sentry just depowers, and Nightmare is the dark psychosis side of him, who can operate this nightmare realm and do all sorts of crazy things. Could also be, and people are asking how is Vision alive, it's because Wanda is willing him to be back. Vision knows he's dead and he's not supposed to be there. And the fact of the matter is they can't answer these questions. Now, if they're under duress from somebody, like, let's say, Shadow King, you never know. There's so many things that could be going on right now. And my top three, I believe it is Wanda. I believe it is possibly Shadow King or Nightmare. And what was my third one? Or the Secret Invasion Scrolls. But if this is a thing that's going on Earth, I do fully believe it is a Earthbound thing. This ties into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. which also ties into Black Panther. And I fully believe that T'Challa is going to be king of Necropolis, just like in the comics. So it is probably Nightmare who also has reign over death and hell. More than likely, your villain is Nightmare, who has tapped into Wanda's psychoses and has her having this mental breakdown, and has brought in people in the surrounding area. We're gonna get 1 hour episodes starting next week, and this is gonna last. It's gonna be one episode every Friday. This is going to last until March, I believe. So hang in there, guys. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to my theories and my ramblings. Always, when you're watching this episode, this series, I should say, pay attention to background noise. Background noise is very important, and pay attention to what people say and what people don't say. They call him Vision when he works. Vision is not a normal name, and it's yeah, it's interesting. Oh, one important thing to note. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit long. One important thing to note is that their magician and magician assistants names were Illusion and Glamour. That is actually the name of two kinds of spells. Illusion spells make things that you don't see there, but glamour spells also change a person's appearance. It's the type of spell that Loki did in Thor: The Dark World, when he was making it seem like he wasn't sad that his mother died, and when he dropped the glamour, everything was destroyed because he was heartbroken. Those are things that you got to pay attention to, and things you got to really make sure you're spot on sometimes. Make sure that I'm not done. Music's great. The way it looks is great. Um, yeah, comedy's on point too. I'm even naturally laughing at these things. So who knows? Maybe someone's trying to make an Adaptoid. There's actually two commercials. First episode commercial was a Stark toaster, and if you pay attention, it takes a long time for it to ding. I believe someone is in her mind, and someone is messing with her. And with the Strucker brand watch, there's a ticking. So Wanda is aware, like she can hear these things, kind of like a person in a coma. She can hear what's going on, but she can't quite break through. And I think she wants to be in this world because she misses Vision and she loves Vision. This takes place after Avengers Endgame. I'm just letting you know. This takes place after it. So again, this is for real the end this time. Again, thank you for showing up. Thank you for watching the video. Let me know what you think of the first two episodes of WandaVision down below. I'm having a good time already. I expect this to be great. Uh, Please remember to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can get notified of more videos like this. We're going to stick through with this one, and we're going to see it to the end. Remember to share this video so other people can see the wonderful thesis and everything I'm saying to you guys. Don't you love it? Don't you love Avengers? Don't you like Marvel? Of course you do, and your friends do too, so share this video. As always, guys, please remember to wash your hands, wear a mask, Black Lives Matter, be good to one another, and as always, I will see you next time. How cool would it be if Doctor Strange shows up at the very end of this series with Spider-Man? That would be fantastic. Woo!